Hey, thank you so much for joining us at our Crosspoint Church podcast. Now, if you're new to our podcast or maybe new to our church in general, we're just a bunch of messed up people who don't have it all together, running after a heavenly leader who loves us and meets us right where we are. We hope this message encourages you, builds your faith, and strengthens your confidence as you continue down this journey of what it means to know and follow Jesus. Enjoy this message.
Oh, man, I tell you what, a lot of us are going to be doing that this week. We're going to be hanging around a table. We're going to be heading into the holidays. And this week, we're just trying to kick us off, get us ready for that. So super excited you're here. Welcome to Crosspoint. My name's Curt. And if you are with us for the first time, you've picked a great weekend to be with us this weekend. And we just consider it an honor because, you could be a lot of places and you've chosen to be here. So we just want to thank you for that. And let's make some noise for those online this weekend that are tuning in across our city, state, nation, even our world. Those of you traveling this weekend, maybe you're visiting family, or maybe you're just in our online crowd. We just want to welcome you. Thanks for joining us today. Now, a couple quick mentions on the holidays before we get going. Next weekend, we begin a brand new series, our Christmas series. It's called It's Christmas Again, because it's crazy. This thing comes around every year. It's just fascinating, though, because I feel like there's been just like a weightiness. I think a lot of people are just feeling like a weight and a bit of weariness right now. And so perhaps this Christmas is exactly what our weariness needs. So next weekend, we're actually going to begin that. And we hope you'll be here and plan to be here each of the 3 weeks of the Christmas season. And not just for you, but also for the many guests that are going to be joining us over that season. And then we just dropped our Christmas Eve times. So I want to share those with you. We have 5 services this year when we get to Christmas Eve. They're going to start on the weekend of the 21st. So Sunday, December 21st, no normal services. We're going to start with Christmas Eve before you leave at 4:30. And then Tuesday, we call that Christmas Adam because Adam comes before Eve. Another 4:30 service on the 23rd. And then Wednesday, the 24th, 3 services at 3, 4:30, and 6 o'clock. And this is a great opportunity to invite someone. And so really hope you'll use that. We'll have some tools we'll be putting in your hands over the next few weeks to help you pass things on to your friends. And one of the ways we can honor God and really kind of serve Him through the season is to help others have a great Christmas Eve. So maybe you'd like to join our volunteer team for Christmas Eve services. You can scan this QR code and let us know what day you're able to serve and help make somebody else's Christmas fantastic. All right. Hey, this is one of our absolute favorite weekends. Personally, for me, one of my favorite weekends. And we're going to do some things to try to get us in just a posture of gratitude. Before we do that, though, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. And, it's time when we talk about giving thanks. You guys mind if we write a few thank you notes before we do anything else? That'd be cool with you guys? You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Jamie, how about Jamie back here? Let's get up for Jamie back here on the keyboard. James. We got any music that would go well with thank you notes? Let's see. Wow. That's like perfect music for thank you notes right there. Wow. All right. You ready? Here we go. Thank you, electric carving knife, for making it sound like my turkey has a personal massager. It's like a little mini massage, but it's too late, right? It's too late. It's too late.
It's too late.
Too late.
The bird is cooked.
It's cooked. Thank you, sweet potato casserole, for being 80% marshmallows, 20% vegetables, which feels exactly like the kind of math we can all get behind. Right? It's like mostly vegetables with mostly sugar.
Mostly.
Yeah. Anybody like sweet potato casserole?
No.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And then Mark does not. We got more food coming.
Okay, good.
Thank you, NFL game on Thanksgiving Day, for being the only time my family is yelling in the same direction. Holy cow, we're just yelling all over the place. Thank God. Whoa, yeah. Thank God for the NFL, right? It's like the one time we all get pointed in the right way.
One thing we can all
get together.
agree on. Yeah, that's
Woo.
right.
All right. Thank you, tennis balls, for being there through every stage of life. If you like that, they're like the best, right? Young, teenage years, all the way to our senior years. They're there the whole time.
You can measure where you need to park your car in your garage,
cow.
Put them on your walker.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? A little ball, furry ball.
Amazing. Very versatile.
Very versatile. Thank you, pumpkin pie, for being the dessert that people insist is their favorite, even though they only eat it once a year out of obligation. Oh, I love it.
pumpkin pie.
I love pumpkin pie. How often do you eat it?
Just once a year.
Once a year. Exactly. It's one time a year. It's our favorite. Thank you, Stretchy Pants, for being the true heroes of the holiday season. Faith, hope, love, and elastic. Thank God for elastic, right? And hey, it's not just ladies like Joey, right? Joey had guys can do stretchy
My
pants.
Thanksgiving pants.
My Thanksgiving pants. Anybody got Thanksgiving pants out there?
You have to, don't you?
Try your spouse's Thanksgiving pants, maternity pants. Here we go. Thank you, mouth guard, for knowing the precise moment your wife believes the evening is over. Yes, good night, honey. Yeah. It's like, oh, I guess we're just going to watch TV the rest of the night. Right? Holiday's over. Thank you, Thanksgiving Kids Table, for being the only place in the house where you can get not only mac and cheese, Capri Suns, but also zero opinions about politics.
Oh,
Who wants to be at the kids' table this year?
That, me.
Yeah, me too. Let's all be at the kids' table. It's going to be a fun kids' table. Thank you, Cranberry Sauce, for being Jell-O that grew up, got a job, and decided to show up for dinner once a year. Do you eat it? Is it even sold any other time of year? Like one time a year, right?
I can't eat it in that form.
Yeah,
Sorry.
shows up one time a year. Here we go, last one. Thank you, sweet potatoes, for being regular potatoes with a bad spray tan. Hey, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, our 2025 Thanksgiving thank you notes. Woo! Yeah, let's give it up for the band just participating in that. Great moment. So fun to laugh. I think God loves it when we laugh. We get our endorphins going. And, we love just sharing things we're thankful for. Most of those I ripped off Jimmy Fallon. Actually, Chat GPT came through this year. Great writer. Could actually write for the night show. So anyway, we are glad you're here this weekend. Man, so much has happened. This weekend, is about exercising our gratitude. And, in our country, one of the things we do as we head into this week is we begin to think about things we're thankful for. We begin to, make note of our blessings. And a lot of times it just stops right there. And so this weekend, I really want to help us take that a bit deeper. I want us to get to acknowledging the power source for really a lot of the goodness, nearly all of the goodness in our lives. And so, regardless of what your year has looked like, I know for some of us it's been, good. For some it's been bad. It's been expected. It's been unexpected. Maybe you've had a lot of stress, turmoil, perhaps even frustration. We want to get all of this in a posture where we can actually have some gratitude and have a great Thanksgiving. We just wrapped up this thing around here at Crosspoint, if you've been around here for any time at all, called the Practicing the Way Journey. And it's every fall we do this 7-week deal where we go kind of do a deep dive on a topic and all get on the same page. And it's been really cool because this year, just a lot of cool transformations, some new things that allowed us to experience God in new ways. And one of the cool things for me was in my men's group that I meet with on Wednesdays, it's a bunch of guys get together over lunch. We talk about what we're learning. Groups are open. So if you're looking for a group and you're a guy, would love to have you join us. We had these deeper conversations about how two things that seem mutually exclusive can actually be present at the same time. That there's the possibility that I could be dealing with a good amount of pain and suffering, but I can also have a joy. Or I could be dealing with a decent, amount of grief, but I can also find that there's a place for gratitude. And you might be thinking, okay, well, how does that exist? Well, I want to point us to a scripture to kind of help us understand this a bit. In fact, this weekend, I'm going to give us 4 scriptures. And these are kind of like 4, they're kind of random, I'm going to be honest. These are ones I've set aside over the last few months that I personally have just found really encouraging and spent some time with. And I thought, man, these would be good for us as we think about gratitude. So I'm going to just share some things that have been helpful to me out of my journal over the last few months. This one comes from James. He's a writer in the New Testament. And he says this, he says, is anyone among you suffering? Let them pray. Is anyone cheerful? Let them sing songs of praise. Now, here's what I absolutely love about this verse right here. It teaches us to make space for both grief and peace. James says, actually, these can actually both exist at the same time. He says, you can have sadness. You can also be in a place of joy. There's room for agony and bliss, breakups and weddings, divorces and honeymoons, layoffs and promotions, funerals and baby showers. I mean, there's room for empty bank accounts. There's room for, that unexpected bonus that we get. I mean, James reminds us right here that God has room for all of this. And so if you find yourselves, just at a place where you're kind of going through hard times, I mean, you're dealing with something that would be kind of in the suffering category, you know what James says? He actually says, let them pray, which is so fascinating. Think about this for a moment. The God of the universe who put everything in motion, everything around you, all the beauty around you, actually says, hey, I want to communicate with you. I want you to seek me, and you will find me, and I will hear you. You might be tempted to post when you go through difficult times instead of pray. We might be tempted to vent instead of pray, numb out instead of pray, overwork instead of pray. I mean, we do a lot of things, but James says one of the best things a suffering person can do is actually to pray. And then he goes to the other end of the spectrum. He says, he tells us how to kind of hold space for the cheerful. He says, hey, there's going to be moments where things are going your way. There's going to be moments where, your prayers, you just feel like, man, they're getting answered, where the doors are getting open, the blessings are just kind of freely flowing. And he says in that moment, our response is actually to give praise. And so it's kind of cool because he says, regardless of whichever direction your day is going, he narrows it down to two postures right here. He says, we can either pray or we can praise. And I love this because that means no matter how good or how bad we might feel that it is, James says, hey, we can actually give those things to God. And he actually meets us in those moments. And I'm telling you, that approach and that posture right there is one of the things that will set us up for a fantastic season of gratitude as we head through this week. Now, there's another writer in the New Testament that I want to show us a verse on. And this is a verse I've spent some time on a couple weeks ago. In fact, I did a lot of journaling on this, found it very, very helpful to kind of show me, just all the good things in my life that God has been doing, because I was not aware of all those. And so we're going to spend a little time reflecting on this verse in a moment, but I want to break it down for us first. Because see, a lot of the challenge to seeing, all the things in our life that we should be grateful for is that we're often busy and we got a lot of things going on and life's hard. And sometimes, life doesn't go the way we expect and we get bummed out by that. And so we miss the bigger things that God is doing. And so I want to show us something the Apostle Paul says in his second letter to a guy named Timothy in the New Testament. And if you're not, familiar with Paul, Paul's a guy who knew both joy and challenge. I mean, his life was incredible in both directions. He knew the ecstasy of winning at things, but also the deep, difficult circumstances, like things that are like near your deathbed. And so what he's saying in this verse is, hey, I want you to make sure you have the full view of all the goodness that God is doing in your life. And so here's what he writes to this guy, Timothy. He says, hey, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I've kept the faith. Now, Paul, when he writes this, he's nearing the end of his life's journey, all right? When he writes this, he's near the end of his life. He's endured some stuff, all right? It's a guy who traveled around the Mediterranean, and he did it on a boat you and I would never step foot on, just in case you wondered, all right? He's going through dangerous waters. He gets beat up. He gets stoned, but with rocks, all right? So nearly killing him. He gets shipwrecked, not once, not twice, 3 times, all right? He gets snake bitten. I mean, on and on. He deals with all these difficult things. And then he's starting all these churches around the Mediterranean rim, reaching people far from God. And yet the reason that you and I are here today, because we're on the downline of that, it's not because of what he thought, it's not because of what he wrote, but it's because of what he did. And he did it all without Tylenol or electricity. Wow, imagine that. Pretty crazy, right? So when he writes this, he says, hey, I've fought the good fight. I finished the race. I have kept the faith. He wasn't writing this from some beach in his retirement, all right? He's actually in prison right here when he's writing this. Actually, his final installment in prison, he didn't know it, but we can historically look back and go, yep, that was the last time he was in prison because he died shortly after this. And yet, he doesn't talk about what broke him. What he talks about is what he completed. And this is what's cool about what Paul says right here. And this is what might be helpful for you and me, all right? Paul actually talks about the good fight. He doesn't talk about the easy fight. He doesn't talk about the comfortable fight. No, he talks about the good fight. And the good fight, by the way, is not against people. The good fight is about keeping faith in Jesus when life gets hard, when things don't go my way. Keeping faith in Jesus in ways that when I go through difficult things, it actually develops and builds something in me. And so he also doesn't say, hey, I fought the fight perfectly. He doesn't say that at all. When he says, no, I just fought, meaning I stayed in it. That's all I can say sometimes is I stayed in it. All right, and here's the key. Paul didn't finish because of his strength. He actually finished because God was faithful. And the same may be true for you and I. I mean, there may be all these little ways that God is showing up faithfully in our lives. Sometimes we don't even see it. And if I'm honest, some days are harder than others, right? Some of your days are harder than others. Some days you don't want to get out of bed. Some days you don't want to show up. Some days it's hard to walk into a space like this, to tune into a space like this. You may have struggled to even do that. But guess what? You did. You showed up. You're here. And it matters because, see, finishing isn't about doing everything flawlessly. It's about refusing to give up. I mean, that's one of the things Paul shows us. It's about keeping focus when our motivation fades. And again, not focusing on being perfect, but on being faithful, on just showing up and keep, putting one foot in front of the other. And so I encourage you, man, to keep doing that. I mean, even over these next few weeks, it's going to be really important. We're heading into a season of hope. We're heading into Christmas. It's a season of seeking where we continue to long and seek the things that Jesus wants to do in our lives. But when you get to the end of the challenge and you keep showing up, guess what? You may actually be able to say the very thing that Paul said, where he says, I have kept the faith. Now, here's what I want us to do. When you came in, you got a thank you note with your weekly, or maybe you picked one up on the table in the back. And so I want you to take that out and grab a pen. We're going to raise the house lights. I want us to journal through this thing that Paul talks about here. And if you don't have one, you can do it on your weekly at home. You can just, pick you can do this on your phone or, pick a piece of paper. But I want to walk this out line by line. Here's what Paul says. He says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. All right, and so here's what I did a couple weeks ago. I have fought the good fight. Okay, what fight have you been in this year? All right, what is something you've been fighting through? What's something perhaps that has been so challenging for you this year? I want you to spend a little time here in a moment just writing that down, whatever that challenge was. I've finished the race. All right, for you, what have you finished this year? And it might not be completely done, but what have you actually gotten through? What have you been able to make some progress on? I want you to spend a little time reflecting on that. And then I've kept the faith. All right, here's the question there. What has God grown you in or shown you as you've gone through that thing? All right, what's perhaps the thing that if as you look back, you go, wow, I'm here. I actually made it. All right, I'm here, and maybe it didn't go exactly the way I wanted. It didn't go perfectly, but gosh, I made it. And how did God actually help me get through that? I want you to spend a little time reflecting on that. In fact, we're going to keep these questions up. The band's going to do a song, and this is a fascinating song because my wife and I this summer, we became concert goers. We don't always go to concerts, but we go once or twice a year, but we're like every weekend, we're like, I wonder who's playing this weekend. And one weekend it was Rod Stewart. And I'm like, the dude is amazing. I hope I can dance like him when I'm 80. Like, he's amazing. And so, but he had this song that he did. And sometimes, when you hear songs that he does, it's like, well, I think he wrote that for another person, but oh my gosh, this could actually be something I could share with God to just express my gratitude to him, or perhaps it's even something God might say to me. So I want you to spend a little time just reflecting on those three questions and just maybe discovering some of the ways that God has showed up and that are going to be points that you can go, oh my gosh, God, thank you for this. And as you do that, listen to this song and just take this moment in. Wow, so good. Man, I hope you had a moment there where perhaps you saw a bit of a glimpse of something perhaps God did that you didn't know when you walked in today. Maybe a moment that he got you through something. Maybe a moment where, you're like, man, things certainly didn't go the way that I expected, but man, I'm here. I made it. And I can actually give thanks and praise, as the song said, to the one above. As I was sitting over here, I was so overwhelmed. I get this a lot when I sit in this room under moments of reflection. And I just had gratitude for all of you, in fact. I write this in my journal nearly every single day. And by all of you, I mean those of you who consider Crosspoint your church home, those of you who show up every weekend in person, those of you who tune in online. By you, I'm talking about those of you who fuel Crosspoint financially. By you, I'm talking about those of you who serve on a team around here, whether that's, greeting at the front doors, serving coffee, sitting on the floor in a small group of kids back in Upstreet or the preschool room, going to a convention and hanging out with our junior and senior high students. Those of you who maybe sit behind a board or behind a camera or play instruments, those that are small group leaders. I mean, all the people that make things go around here, just absolutely amazing. I mean, I just get so overwhelmed when I think of the ways that lives are touched through that. By you, I'm talking about those of you who perhaps are taking tags from the giving tree and the Spread Some Cheer meal boxes that are going out the door. I mean, none of that happens. Let me just tell you, none of those things happen without you. And lives are touched and hope is brought because of willingness. This is crazy. I get so overwhelmed when I see those things. Because all of these things are actually a part of helping people find their way to God, helping people see that God is a God that's trustworthy, that Jesus is somebody who we can put the weight of our life into. And so I have found that, especially around Crosspoint here, the people that are most grateful are volunteers. They're people who are investors. I just think there's something about when you begin to say, hey, God has done so much for me. I want to help other people experience that. Whether that's through giving my time or my finances, because God has so generously blessed me. And so gratitude is actually best when we put it into action. And so I want to give us just a couple walkout points. If you're looking to just gratitude to action, even as we walk out today, before you leave, maybe it's just telling somebody thank you. Maybe it's somebody who served you today. Maybe it's somebody who welcomed you warmly or just made your day with a comment or whatever it might be. Maybe putting gratitude in motion is taking a giving tree tag this weekend, bringing that back in a few weekends so you can bless a kid. Maybe it's taking a meal box and filling that. Joining a team that's doing things is actually another expression of gratitude. And there's really two ways to do this around here. In fact, lots of opportunities over the holidays. We've got Christmas Eve services coming up. And again, if you want to just say, hey, God has been so generous to me, I want to help other people experience that, join one of our Christmas Eve volunteer teams. We would love to give you a way to put that gratitude in motion. Another way to do that is when Spread Some Cheer meal boxes come back. Those are going to be going out into the community. It's one of my favorite days all year because, we see the love coming back into our campus. We put those boxes into trailers. There's volunteer opportunities to be a part of that. And then they go out into the community that afternoon. There's opportunities to deliver those to families in need. And so again, these are all the ways that we put gratitude into motion. And so if any of that kind of landed with you, I just encourage you to consider being a part of those opportunities. Now, the last verse that I want to share with you here, this is one, again, that just really kind of put me in a posture of realizing how much God has done in my life. And I want to read it to you. It's from the Old Testament. It's the prophet Isaiah, chapter 25. Here's what it says. It says, Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you and praise your name. For in perfect faithfulness, you have done wonderful things planned long ago. Wow. There is so much we can unpack in that little verse right there. I want to begin with the opening posture of that verse right there. One of the most important things about our relationship with God, and for some of us, we're still seeking that relationship. We're trying to still see if we're going to step into a relationship with God. One of the most important things is staying in the right posture. In fact, Isaiah, look at what he says right at the beginning of this. He says, Lord, you are my God. 5 words. I tell you what, those 5 words will change your outlook right there. All right, those will reframe your experience, your life. All right, Lord. I mean, think about this. Lord, that's a very definitive term. I mean, to say, Lord, that's like you're a leader. You're over me. You're like King of Kings. You're like sovereign over the affairs of life. To say, hey, you are my Lord is like saying, you are actually sovereign over the affairs of my life. That is so, so powerful. But notice the connection right here. He says, Lord, you are my God. All right? I believe that is a prayer right there. That'll change the heart of God right there, that prayer. That's a prayer that'll actually change your heart. That simple prayer, 5 words right there. Lord, you are my God. Some unexpected situation happens and totally catches you off guard. You know what? Lord, you are my God. Somebody says something about you, throws some shade your way, something less than favorable. You know what? Lord, you are my God. You're the one who tells me who I am. All right, we don't know the outcome of how something's going to go, perhaps a difficult circumstance we're facing. You know what, Lord? You are my God. And who is our God anyway? Well, he's the one who, look at this next phrase, worked in perfect faithfulness. Listen to this. Listen, faithfulness alone is amazing, right? But perfect faithfulness, that's what the Lord our God is. That's what he emulates. And what has he done? He tells us, he says, I've done wonderful things planned long ago. Listen, God already knew before you were born the path that he would put you on, the ways he would provide, the purpose that he would bring about in your life. He knew the challenges. He knew the moments that were going to derail you. I mean, he knew all that. And you know what he does? He continues to open new doors. I mean, we mess things up. We take a side track. And you know what God does? When we shut one door, you know what he does? He actually just continues to open new doors. He continues to redirect us. He's always working toward a perfect plan for us. And some of us, I know you're sitting there going, Curt, I just don't know. I just don't know if I've seen God that way. I mean, if you know my life, I don't know that I would say God would be seeing me that way. I want to read something for you that I came across just this last week in one of my readings that I was doing early in the morning. It's a little excerpt from Forgotten Among the Lilies. This is a Catholic priest, prolific writer, and he writes this. He says, if the Catholicism that I was raised with had a fault, and it did, it was precisely that it did not allow for mistakes. It demanded that you get it right the first time. There was supposed to be no need for a second chance. If you made a mistake, you lived with it, and like the rich young man, you were doomed to be sad, at least for the rest of your life. A serious mistake was a permanent stigmatization and a mark that you wore like Cain. He says, I have seen that mark on all kinds of people: divorcees, ex-priests, ex-religious, people who have had abortions, married people who have had affairs, people who have had children outside of marriage, parents who have made serious mistakes with their children, and countless others who have made serious mistakes. There is too little around to help them. And then he talks about how we need a theology of brokenness. He says we need a theology of brokenness which teaches us that even though we cannot unscramble an egg, God's grace lets us live happily and with a renewed innocence far beyond any egg that we may have scrambled. We need a theology that teaches us that God does not just give us one chance, but that every time we close a door, look at this, he opens another one for us. Perhaps the thing that we can be most thankful for today is to look back and say, oh my gosh, God, where are all the places I closed doors, all the places I screwed things up this year, all the places like you were so faithful, but it was actually in spite of my faithfulness, and yet, you know what God does? He continues to open doors. He continues to bring new mercies. In fact, one of my favorite verses I write in my journal every single morning, I thank God for his new mercies that never cease. It says, great is your faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each new morning. Think about that. Every single day that you wake up, God has new mercies waiting right there for you. You know, the last way that we're going to put gratitude in motion, we're going to invite you to share in what I would call the original Thanksgiving table. And again, this is one of our traditions of this weekend as we celebrate Thanksgiving thank you notes, is having a moment where we just celebrate this table that actually Jesus invites us to. In fact, people that have been running after the heart of God for years, centuries, have been sharing in this meal. Some people call it the Lord's Supper because it was a moment where Jesus had dinner with his friends. Others call it the Last Supper because it was Jesus' last meal before he went to the cross. Others call it communion because it represents this idea of communing, like being in community, in fellowship with God the Father. Some call it the Mass because they literally see it as representing the literal Mass, the literal body of Jesus. And yet some people call this the Eucharist because in the Greek language, Eucharist actually is thankfulness. Thankfulness. That's what we're going to do. We're going to share in this table out of a posture of thankfulness this weekend. In fact, I want to read for you what happened when Jesus kind of made this moment. This is what the writer Luke tells us right here. It says, and he took the bread, meaning Jesus, and he gave thanks and he broke it. And he gave it to them saying, this is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And in the same way, after supper, he took the cup saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. Let me just think about that for a moment right there. The God of the universe, Jesus, his son, actually poured his life out for you. I mean, for you. If you were the only one, he would have done it for you. As an act of celebration, we're going to remember this today. We're going to celebrate it. And there's nothing we can do to actually deserve it. The only thing we can do is receive it. And then we can say thank you. And so as we share in this moment here in just a moment, this is a moment to just share our gratitude with Jesus. Maybe you reflected on a moment that you've been through. Maybe you fought through something this year. You had no idea God was actually working. And you look back at that and you go, oh my gosh, God, I can actually see your fingerprints. Maybe you just want to tell God thank you for that. So we're gonna celebrate Jesus in this moment. We're gonna do that through coming to the table in a moment. I'll explain that. Let's go ahead and stand, and I want to pray for us before we share in this moment. God, man, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for your faithfulness. You're such a good God. And we just want to recognize right now that you are the source of all good things in our lives. We want to orient our hearts toward you. We want to orient our gratitude to you in this moment. We just want to thank you for your goodness, for your faithfulness, for your grace. And we want to say thank you for giving to us, for doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Jesus, we love you. And so we just ask that you would receive all of that as praise. Amen. Amen. All right, so we're going to share in this table of Thanksgiving in a moment, and this is something we call the table of abundance. I love this table because it's got bread that's overflowing. It's got drink that's overflowing, and it reminds us that God's grace for us is overflowing. And so we're going to invite you to come down the center aisles here in just a moment when the band begins to play, and you can grab a choice of bread. I mean, take as much as you want. You can fill your cup, as full as you want to fill it, and drink until your thirst is quenched. I mean, over the last number of weeks, we've been doing this like with little like thimble-sized things of juice. Man, you're gonna receive something to drink tonight. So I want you to take that in and be reminded of God's goodness and how it never runs out. Now, we have open tables here at Crosspoint, and so if you've done this before, you are welcome to the table. If you are not a part of our church, but you are moving toward Jesus, and this represents what you want in your life, that you are moving toward Jesus, we invite you to share in this table. If you've never done this before, but you're like, hey, I am pursuing Jesus, and I'm wanting to continue to experience him, perhaps you want to take this as your first communion, as a way of saying, Jesus, I do believe you died for me, and you broke your body for me, and take this as a first step of belief. So Norman Vincent Peale, he actually said, the more you practice the art of thankfulness, the more we have to be thankful for. I hope as we go through this moment, you are overwhelmed with the gratitude that we have in our lives. So as you come up front, you're going to grab a drink, you're going to grab some bread at home, grab your beverage of choice, some bread, whatever you have to eat. Just feast with us. Share in this moment with us. And every time we get to this moment this time of year, I think of King David. He was going through a really difficult time in the Old Testament. And he had this moment where he said, I'm going to lift up the cup of salvation. He says, I'm going to praise the Lord's name for saving me. God has actually saved me. He actually did something I couldn't do. And he says, hey, I'm going to say cheers to the Lord. So as you come, man, lift your cup. Man, if you're with somebody tonight, maybe you want to just lift your cup to them. Maybe you just want to offer a cup to the Lord. So let's share in this moment. Come and share in the bread and the cup as the band leads us, and let's experience and share our gratitude.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Take a moment to follow our podcast on your preferred platform, and be sure to download our app to stay informed on everything happening here at Crosspoint. And if you like what you heard today, don't hesitate to share it with a friend that might need to hear it too.